Good morning, class. Today we are going to continue talking about the specialized functions within a multicellular organism. So cells have specialized functions within organisms based on the role or job that they carry. So by the end of the lesson today, we should be able to describe or explain the specialized functions or the specific jobs of the cells in multicellular organisms and why they have specific jobs. So, just a quick recap, remember that cells are the basic unit of structure for all living things. So, we're going to think of cells as the building blocks of all multicellular organisms. Also within our unicellular organisms, because remember, the cells make up the unicellular organism. It's just one cell, and it can have all 6 life functions within that one cell. So that brings me to our first objective that we're going to cover today. This question was the most missed question on your Kahoot that you all did. The question states, which characteristic do single-celled organisms and multicellular organisms have in common? I'm afraid that you guys just kind of read your answer choices and picked the best one rather than using our good science test-taking strategies that you all know and have been using all year. So, what you should do as a good science test taker is to go through each answer choice and either prove to yourself that it is correct or prove to yourself that it isn't correct and give reasons how you know that. So, first of all, the first answer choice you have is that both have cells with specialized functions for each life process. I know that single-celled organisms and multi-celled organisms both can carry out each life process. So that one may be true. I'm going to come back and look at that one more time. Let's look at this next answer choice. Both perform all life processes within one cell. Well, I know that multicellular organisms cannot perform all life processes within one cell because they need multiple or many cells. So I'm going to mark that one out in my brain. I know that that one is not correct. This one says both have a way to get rid of waste materials. Absolutely. Single-celled organisms can get rid of waste, and multicellular organisms can get rid of waste because we know that all biotic factors, all biotic things have a way to get rid of waste. So that definitely sounds like a great answer to me. Let's look at our last answer choice. Both are able to make food from sunlight. Well, if you guys remember from our ecosystems unit, producers are the only living things that can make food from sunlight. So that one is not correct. So I know I can mark out the last answer choice and the second answer choice. Let me go back to the first one because I was kind of iffy on that one. Both have cells with specialized functions for each life process. So, no single-celled organisms have a cell. They do not have multiple cells with specialized functions. They have pieces within their one cell that have those specialized functions. But since it says that they have cells plural, I know that that answer choice cannot be correct because single-celled organisms only have a single cell. So the best answer that I have found, you being a great science test taker and proving my answers to myself, is that both have a way to get rid of waste materials. All right, now you guys are doing really well with cells so far, and you really impressed me, especially with a lot of your research questions and that type of thing. So we're going to start out slow with a brain pop video, but then we're going to watch a video that uses more scientific and technical terms, but the concepts are more in depth, which I think you guys will enjoy. So let's go ahead and start slow, and then we'll go to the next video.
Cells come in all different shapes and sizes. The size and shape of a cell can sometimes tell you something about its job. One nerve cell in your leg can be a meter long. Those little fingers on each end, called dendrites, let signals jump from one nerve synapse to the next. This here red blood cell is about 1/10 the size of a period on your computer screen. It's a tiny, flexible disc that can move through even the narrowest blood vessels. A plant xylem cell is long and hollow with holes so it can transport water and minerals through the plant. Plant and animal cells are pretty similar inside, but there are two major differences. Plant cells can make their own food, and animal cells can't. Plant cells' green color comes from green organelles called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts trap light energy and enable plants to conduct photosynthesis. Animal cells are surrounded with a flexible cell membrane. Plant cells have a membrane too, but outside of that, they protect themselves with a stiff outer wall. Both plant cells and animal cells work in teams. When you take a tiny piece of a plant, there are tons of cells clustered together in that piece working together. Same goes for a piece of an animal. I'm not saying that. Oh, fine. Cells team up and work together, just like Moby and me.
So I hope you guys got something out of that cute, short little video. But the big picture that I hope that you got from it is that our cells look different based on the functions in which they carry out within the organism. So, your nerve cells look very different from your blood cells. This next video that you guys are going to watch, like I said, it does have a little bit more technical terms in it, but it's very relevant to what we're going to be talking about. And it also helps to see how our cells are specialized within our bodies, because for the rest of the week, we're going to be talking about our different organ systems and how they have different cells in order to carry out their function within the organism that we are as humans. So let's go ahead and start the next video.
In plants and animals, similar cells are grouped together to form tissues. The human body is made up of many different kinds of tissue. Groups of bone cells, for example, form bone tissue. And muscle cells form muscle tissue. The different types of cells that make up the tissues of the human body have distinctive architectures that are well suited for what they do. Take the cells that form the epidermis, the thin outer part of skin. The epidermis consists of several layers of cells that fit closely together. They provide an effective barrier against bacteria and other things that could cause harm if they got inside the body. The top layer consists of dead cells that are constantly being rubbed off and replaced by cells from below.
The muscles attached to the skeleton have cells that look very unlike skin cells. Muscle cells are very long and fiber-like. Each cell contains many fine threads called myofibrils. Myofibrils, in turn, contain two types of even smaller filaments called actin and myosin. A closer look at the actin and myosin shows how they can slide over each other, making it possible for a muscle cell to contract and expand. Thousands of muscle cells contract and expand together, making it possible to move an arm or leg. Bone cells serve a different function. Bone cells secrete calcium and other materials that harden and form the body's bones.
When we think or try to solve a problem, we're using other kinds of cells. Nerve cells, which are also called neurons. There are billions of neurons in the brain alone, and these can communicate with other nerve cells that branch throughout the body, forming the body's nervous system. The architecture of nerve cells varies according to what function they serve, but all have the same basic design. Each consists of a single cell body which contains the cell's nucleus. Branching out from the cell body are fibers of different lengths called dendrites. There is also a single long fiber called the axon. In some cells, the axon is very long, up to 3 feet. Signals race from the dendrite of one cell through the cell body and along the axon. At the end of the axon, the signal is picked up by the dendrite of another nerve cell. Together, the billions of nerve cells in the body form an intricate communications network that makes possible our thoughts and senses. Ow!
A drop of blood tells another story about cells. The blood that flows through the veins and arteries of the body's circulatory system contains different kinds of cells that perform jobs vital to our existence. Red blood cells are the most numerous. They look a little like donuts with their centers filled in. Red blood cells carry oxygen from the lungs to other cells throughout the body. There are about 25 trillion red blood cells in the body of an adult. Each has a lifespan of only about 125 days, so new ones are constantly being produced at the rate of about 2 million a second. Blood also contains white blood cells. Although much fewer in number, white blood cells are important defenders of the body against invaders like disease-causing bacteria. Some white blood cells can actually engulf bacteria and other harmful things, making them harmless by eating them.
As you have seen, cells look very different based on the job that they carry out, and they also serve different functions within the organism. So let's relate that to something that we all know and understand on a regular basis. So within our school, everybody has a different job. Each job that the adults have in our school is different, but each one's very important in order to have the school to operate the way that it should. Without one person present in our school, it doesn't run as smooth as it should. So, say like your teachers. If Miss McLean and I are absent one day, yes, school still operates, and you come to school at 7:25 to 7:55 and you leave at 3 o'clock, and you do assignments and you learn new things, but it's just not the same when you have a substitute. It's just different, and the day might not run as smooth as it should. Just like your classroom teachers have an important role, also your enhancement teachers have an important role. If we don't have enhancements one day, the school just doesn't quite run like it should. Let's think of our cafeteria, Mr. Mike, Mr. Mike the chef. If he's not at school one day, our food might not taste quite like it should, or maybe our food choices aren't labeled on the glass screen like he does, to add that little personal touch and to make it easy to let them know what we want for lunch. Or let's think about when we don't have a custodian in the school. That definitely, would change things a lot. Without a custodian, we would have to make sure that we spent a big portion of our day every day cleaning up our rooms before we went out to recess. We'd have to really sweep and maybe even take out our own trash. So even our custodians, they help out our school tremendously, and if they weren't there for a day or a week or a month, we would have to pick up the slack and do their jobs and take time out of our job, my job as a teacher, your job as a student, in order to fulfill those roles. And then last but not least, we have our office staff who really, really, really help to keep everything running smoothly at school. Imagine if Miss Leary or Miss Jarrett weren't in the office to answer all those phone calls and to greet all the parents and to answer all the questions that people have, and maybe Miss Lee or Miss Martin had to do that, or maybe even your teachers had to do that while you guys were at enhancements instead of planning for you. that they definitely contribute to making the school run as smooth as it should. So our bodies are kind of the same way. Yes, our bodies can still function if one cell is down or a specific group of cells are not performing as they should. But that also means that other cells within our bodies are having to work harder and pick up the slack for those cells. So, in multicellular organisms, every cell has an important job, just like every person in our school has an important role. So, today in your Google Classroom, also linked into your Echo Agenda, you're going to have an assignment in which you are going to watch a short video and you're going to answer the questions. First of all, you're going to explain how cells serve as building blocks of life to create a larger organism. We've been talking about this for over a week now. So I'm going to hope that you all are able to explain how cells serve as building blocks of life to create a larger organism. Please make sure that you have good 5th grade responses. We have complete sentences. We use part of the question in our answer. So your answer should start out something like, cells serve as building blocks of life to create a larger organism by this or through this. Make sure you use part of the question in your answer. And then, when you complete your answer, when you have a complete thought out on the paper, you add your punctuation, a period, an exclamation point, whatever conveys your statement the best. And if you need another sentence to completely answer that question, then continue with another capital letter and punctuation at the end of the sentence. And then you're going to have the question, why can some cells survive as a single cell while others require many specialized cells to survive? So, why can some organisms function as a unicellular organism? And why do others have to be multicellular? Why do they need many different cells to survive? I'm going to attach this video into the top of the Google form so that you can watch it before answering the questions. And if you guys have any technical difficulties, please send me an email and not just decide that you're not going to do the assignment and tell me a day later that you couldn't watch the video so you didn't do it. However, based on our lessons that we've had in the past, you should already be able to answer these questions and with your notes that are in the notebook. So please, guys, make sure you're using complete sentences to answer your questions and submit these assignments before 3 o'clock. I hope you have an awesome day, and I miss you.